Welcome back. You're watching Business Morning on Channels Television. Olorundare Thomas, the Director General, National Insurers Association, joins me now as we turn our attention to developments in that particular industry. Good morning to you, Mr. Thomas. Thank you so much for joining me on the program.
Yeah, good morning, Harriet.
So, first of all, let's have your, assessment. Give us a current state of where the industry is at the moment.
Well, the Nigerian insurance industry is taking its beats of the challenges of the economy. That's the Nigerian economy. But I must say quickly that a lot of things that are happening now have been foreseen by the market, and both the operators and the regulators, they have fostered some closer ties in terms of ensuring sustainability of the market. This year alone, I think the regulator and the operator must have met not less than 4 times to see how well we can manage existing situations. Okay,
such situations like this new emerging risks that we have, Boko Haram, for instance, kidnapping, the oil pipeline vandalism.
These are emerging risks, and of course, they also come with their own challenges in terms of capacity, in terms of both knowledge capacity, financial capacity to accommodate those risks. But things are being put in place in terms of policies that will ensure that the Nigerian market cope with these risks as they are emerging. We continue to we don't have to reinvent the wheels. We've been inviting people from other jurisdictions that have had it before, and we are taking note of what they have done and succeeded in them.
Okay, so but how would you rate the level at which local insurers have handled domestic risk?
Well, domestic risk, of course, the law itself has empowered or enabled the local underwriters to up their games in terms of accommodating domestic risk. That's what we call domestication of some class of risks, and these ones you can't ship them out. They just have to be managed within the local market, and that has been on. With the enactment of the 2003 Insurance Act. But there are some that you don't want to commit suicide, in spite of the fact that you have been enabled by the law, like the Nigerian content law. It enables Nigerians to keep a minimum of 70%, but we know that we don't have what it takes to keep that now. So what we are doing is that we are gradually moving closer to that level. By now, I think we're about 40%. In terms of maintaining locally those risks that are associated with oil and gas. Okay,
so will the transition now to risk-based supervision, which is a new policy of the insurance regulator, expected to bring an end to common capital regime for insurance companies, take care of that?
Yeah, it's not going to automatically translate to local capacity. But what it's saying is that you don't necessarily need to bite more than you can chew. What they're saying is that, if I can just say, that risk-based supervision is a regulatory mechanism whereby you don't need to exercise the same energy on all the companies. Unlike the compliance base, you have the big players, you have the small players. You rate them, or you exercise the kind of energy based on the level of risk that's associated. And I want to say quickly that the time of too big to fail also is no longer in vogue. Any company can fail, but a lot of things determine the failure of companies. And in insurance, for example, you might be a big company, just one new product that you introduce might destroy the entire system. Now we have one of those emerging risks that we didn't mention is annuity business. Annuity business is a tough one. We have the demand in terms of capacity and knowledge is quite high. But I must tell you that a lot of companies are stepping up to it. We now have resident actuaries in some of our companies now, which was not in existence before. And this is to cope with the risk that's associated with the management of an annuity business.
So to cope with this risk, you need to have funds. And you need to be able to pay off, when the time comes, so that your customers constantly believe in this particular company. Sure. Do you think that there will be another possible round of recapitalization for insurers?
Well, yeah, the capitalization for companies the way the risk-based supervision we approach it is that you can choose to pick a class of business that is not capital intensive. And all you need to do is to maintain, just to keep the minimum capital that's required by law. But if you want to go a step higher, you want to play in the oil and gas, you want to play in areas that requires a lot of capital, then of course, one cap fits all. It's not going to apply again. It's not going to apply. If you want to play as a big player, you have to put down the capital that is required to play at that level.
But if you don't have the capital, can you begin to look at the prospects of M&A, mergers and acquisition?
Yeah, mergers and acquisition itself it does not automatically bring about capital. It does not automatically bring capital.
But it builds capacity.
It builds capacity. But the capacity that plays will also have to be supported and enhanced by the quality of governance that comes with the merger or acquisition.
So in building capacity now, whose responsibility is it going to be? Is it the NIA or it's the regulator that should also begin to put together a framework to help streamline this, to help streamline insurance to ensure that we get what we need for this particular industry?
I mean, it is a collective effort that is playing out here. But something I can tell you is that no regulator want to get involved in a statutory-driven recapitalization anymore. Even though by the provision of the Insurance Act 2003, the regulator has been given the power to alter and increase capital as they deem fit. But they will rather create that enabling environment for you to recognize the kind of risk that you are carrying so that you maintain that adequate capital that will support that risk. That is the kind of encouragement that ROBS, risk-based supervision, is promoting. And I want to believe that is what the National Insurance Commission is going to do. But to say that everybody must have this minimum capital, it's not likely. I don't think it is likely to come on again.
But then how strongly have insurers been pursuing, building capacity in the industry?
Oh, I tell you, it's enormous. In the last few years, I happen to interact with all the companies by virtue of our office. And what I have seen is the fact that even some companies are creating some specialist departments to handle some risk. Before now, when you talk about oil and gas underwriters, you don't have them around. But we are beginning to have a few of them. At least there are some companies that have deliberately enabled some policies, either by send their staff on attachments abroad, and so that they can gain capacity in managing this risk. And in areas of kidnapping, terrorism, and the rest of that, I'm aware that some companies are already building capacity. I just mentioned the issue of annuity. These are risks that could easily destroy the market, but the market itself is putting in place all necessary facilities to make sure that they live up to it.
But then do you think that the market is ready for this?
Very ready.
How ready?
Very ready.
Because
the readiness is not just for now. It's going to be on a continuous basis. So gradually, capacity are being built, and of course, that is why we have reinsurance. That's why we have reinsurance. You will now deal with it at your present capacity level. Those ones that are over and above your capacity, you ship out. Now, gradually, you increase what you can maintain within your capacity, and as you are doing that, you are reducing what is being shipped out.
But then with this new policy, increase the capacity of domestic players in the industry, because you're still talking about if you can't handle some certain kind of risk, you have to ship it out. And as much as possible, we want to see domestic players handling majority of these risks.
Well, the primary underwriting will take place here. But you see, the nature of insurance itself is sharing. And sharing can first start within. So it's not a case, I mean, if you have access to a business, you share with other players within the market. But when you have filled the local capacity, then you look outside for those areas that can assist. Otherwise, you will be committing what we call you'll be committing the kind of thing that will suffocate you. And no sector wants to do that. No sector wants to do that.
But then in doing that, or in trying to achieve that, how do you protect your policyholders?
That is key and is primary. All the activities, and I must quickly bend backward to say that the whole essence of risk-based supervision, if in relation to protecting policyholders, is being able to look at the inherent risk that exists within your operational framework. And you put in place measures to deal with this risk so that you don't put the policyholders in a situation where the promise, insurance is a promise, where the promise cannot be fulfilled. So you recognize that obligation. The moment you collect premium, you have a responsibility to make sure that when the claim crystallizes, you are in that position to pay. And that's the whole essence.
So going forward, do we expect to see a further resuscitation of the insurance industry in terms of how businesses will be conducted?
With the risk-based supervision, the face of the sector is going to change, I tell you. It's going to change because from the operator's perspective, the demand on the operators is going to be, in terms of information, in terms of documentation, is going to be quite heavy. Also, from the side of the policyholders, potential policyholders, the demand for information is going to increase. And on the side of the regulator, there is so much in terms of capacity that they will have to, in terms of knowledge capacity, that they have to gather to be able to cope and manage with this. It's going to be quite heavy.
Would there be an introduction of more products, for instance, or services?
Well,
it is not going to manage the ones that we have already on ground.
No. There are going to be new products, but they are not going to be introduced recklessly. They will be introduced backed up by policies that will maintain and recognize the inherent risk in those new products and how well they have put a structure in place to manage them.
Mr. Thomas, thank you so much for coming on the program this morning and shedding more light on that particular policy.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Olorundare Thomas is the Director General, National Insurers Association, shedding more light on the new policy as introduced by the National Insurance Commission, that's the risk-based supervision. We'll join Rotimi Fakaijo in just a moment for us to get a feel of what's happening at the market as the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The market is already set in continuous trade. Stay with us.